All right. So, late breaking news and good news for women. The Supreme Court on Thursday unanimously preserved access to a medication that was used in nearly two-thirds of all abortions in the U.S. last year, in the court's first abortion decision since conservative justices overturned Roe v. Wade 2 years ago. So not only did the Supreme Court preserve access to Mifepristone, it was unanimous, which is not something I expected. But as you can see, it's just a technicality, and it could still happen. The 9 justices ruled that abortion opponents lacked the legal right to sue over the Federal Food and Drug Administration's approval of the medication Mifepristone and the FDA's subsequent actions to ease access to it. The case had threatened to restrict access to Mifepristone across the country, including in states where abortion remains legal. In other words, it's only because these litigants lacked standing. Not that the justices agreed that Mifepristone should remain available. So God knows how they would have decided if these people had standing. So, abortion is banned at all stages of pregnancy in 14 states after about 6 weeks of pregnancy in 3 others, often before women realize they're pregnant. Not that it actually matters to these people. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who was part of the majority to overturn Roe, wrote for the court on Thursday that federal courts are the wrong forum for addressing the plaintiff's concerns about FDA's actions. So it sounds like even if the litigants had standing, it sounds like Brett Kavanaugh would have still sided with keeping Mifepristone available. He basically thinks that the experts should be the one to decide, which is very bizarre that he would say that about the FDA, but doctors providing medical care, which might include an abortion, somehow that's different. The opinion underscored the stakes of the 2024 election and the possibility that an FDA commissioner appointed by Republican Donald Trump, if he wins the White House, could consider tightening access to Mifepristone, including prohibiting sending it through the mail. Kavanaugh's opinion managed to unite a court deeply divided over abortion and many other divisive social issues by employing a minimalist approach that focused solely on the technical legal issues of standing and reached no judgment about the FDA's actions. Kavanaugh's 7 pro-life references to abortion opponents may have been the only language in his opinion that revealed anything on his views on abortion. Dude, he sided with overturning Roe. I think we know what his views on abortion are. While praising the decision, President Joe Biden signaled Democrats will continue to campaign heavily on abortion ahead of the November elections. Well, yeah, because that decided really nothing. I mean, yeah, it's great that for now Mifepristone is still available, but given a case withstanding, they might easily overturn that access. So, yay. It does not change the fact that the right for a woman to get the treatment she needs is imperiled, if not impossible, in many states, Biden said in the statement. And that is true too. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of SBA Pro-Life America, expressed disappointment with the ruling, but trained her fire on Democrats. Of course she did. Joe Biden and the Democrats are hell-bent on forcing abortion on demand anytime for any reason, including DIY mail-order abortions on every state in the country, Dannenfelser said. Oh my God, what warped reality does this person live in? Okay. Last I checked, the conservatives have a majority on the court, and it was a unanimous decision. How in the world is this Joe Biden's fault? The FDA isn't political. They aren't Democrats or Republicans. They're scientists, or at least they should be. They follow the science. They do not do politics. Wow. And forcing abortion on demand? Nobody is forcing shit. Nobody, and if someone is forcing someone to take an abortion pill, that is a crime. Nobody is saying that should be acceptable. Nobody is forcing anyone to have an abortion. And any time for any reason, last I checked, Mifepristone could be only used at a certain point in pregnancy. It's not that you can take it in your third trimester. Including DIY mail order abortions. What the hell do you think the pill is? You take a pill, you put it in your mouth. How is that DIY? Do you call taking an aspirin for a headache a DIY headache medicine? What are we doing? On every state in the country, nobody is forcing anybody to get an abortion. Should it be legal in every state? Absolutely it should be legal. Because it's not up to you hysterical shrew, whether a woman across the country has to have an abortion. Because you don't know this person's situation. I would love for you to look people in the eye, like, say, Kate Cox and the other women who just had a suit in Texas because Texas wouldn't allow them to have an abortion when they absolutely, totally needed it. I want you to look them in the eye and explain to them why they shouldn't have an abortion. I would love for you to look them in the eye, but of course you won't, because you do not have the spine for it. Anyway, about 2/3 of U.S. adults oppose banning the use of mifepristone or medication abortion nationwide, according to a KFF poll conducted in February. About 1/3 would support a nationwide ban. Well, I'm glad that the minority supports it, but unfortunately, if Donald Trump is elected, it wouldn't matter, because the Republicans would have control of everything. Yay. I mean, it's possible that the Democrats would keep the Senate and take control of the House, but as things stand now, if you look at the polls, not looking good. The High Court is separately considering another abortion case about whether a federal law on emergency treatment at hospitals overrides states' abortion bans in rare emergency cases in which a pregnant patient's health is at serious risk. I think this is about the case in, what is it, Idaho? I think it's in Idaho where women where women are being turned away even though there's a federal law that requires emergency treatment that could include an abortion. Idaho is saying, no, fuck off. We don't care if you need emergency care. As long as you're not on your deathbed, you're good. As if that is the only consequence to a bad pregnancy. More than 6 million people have used Mifepristone since 2000. Mifepristone blocks the hormone progesterone and primes the uterus to respond to the contraction-causing effect of a second drug, misoprostol. The 2-drug regimen have been used to end a pregnancy through 10 weeks gestation. Exactly. So that hysterical shrew who claimed that Biden wants a DIY abortion on demand at any point in pregnancy. Dude, this only works through 10 weeks. That is not a complete pregnancy. If you think that's a complete pregnancy, that is a problem. And I suggest you go back to remedial biology. Because, no, that's not how it works. Healthcare providers have said that if Mifepristone is no longer available or is too hard to obtain, they would switch to using only misoprostol, which is somewhat less effective in ending pregnancies. Actually, I just saw on the news not that long ago a woman who was given just misoprostol and it didn't work. So they gave her more, and then she ended up in the bathroom passed out with blood everywhere. So, yeah, not good for women if they don't have access to Mifepristone. And yeah, it makes me wonder if forcing a woman to go through excruciating pain and all sorts of horribleness isn't the point behind these laws. Because if it wasn't, I swear, people who are pro-life are still under the impression that the myth is that the only women who get abortions are skanks. And it's because they had a one-night stand, they got pregnant, they want to get rid of the pregnancy. No, that isn't it at all. Not that isn't a valid reason, because, protection doesn't always work, and, mistakes happen. Accidents happen. But, regardless, women get to choose what their bodies can handle, what their minds can handle, what their pocketbook can handle. Nobody else. So, regardless, even if it was predominantly that myth, it's nobody's freaking business. Let's see, where was I? Biden's administration and drug manufacturers have warned that siding with abortion opponents in this case could undermine the FDA's drug approval process beyond the abortion context by inviting judges to second-guess the agency's scientific judgments. Yes, because just like with abortion in general, let the experts decide what is safe and effective, not some Yahoo lawyer who doesn't even know where the uterus is. The Democratic administration and New York-based Danko Laboratories, which makes Mifepristone, argued that the drug is among the safest the FDA has ever approved. Yeah, they mentioned, what drugs it's even safer than, and it's just common stuff that it's just safe. I just can't remember what they compared it to. The decision safeguards access to a drug that has decades of safe and effective use, Danco spokeswoman Abigail Long said in a statement. The plaintiffs in the Mifepristone case, anti-abortion doctors, and their organizations argued in court papers that the FDA's decisions in 2016 and 2021 to relax restrictions on getting the drug were unreasonable and jeopardized women's health across the nation. Wait, what? How is that unreasonable and jeopardizing women's health when doctors are saying, the ones without an agenda, are saying that it's safe? I'm sorry that you do not believe in abortion, but that's on you. Don't get a freaking abortion. I mean, I don't care if you're on your deathbed and you refuse to get an abortion, and that even if you and the fetus die. If that's what you want, go for it. Nobody's stopping you. You don't get to tell women who don't want that they have to, not have an abortion and just die. That is just not how it works. Kavanaugh acknowledged what he describes as the opponent's sincere legal, moral, ideological, and policy objections to elective abortion and to FDA's relaxed regulation of mifepristone. Federal laws already protect doctors from having to perform abortions or give any other treatment that goes against their beliefs, Kavanaugh wrote. And I say, find another job if you're not going to give proper medical care. The plaintiffs have not identified any instance where a doctor was required, notwithstanding conscientious objections, to perform an abortion or to provide other abortion-related treatment that violated the doctor's conscience since mifepristone's 2000 approval, he wrote. Exactly. My dad had a colleague. No, he is not an OBGYN. My dad had a colleague who was an OBGYN, and he was anti-abortion. He would not do it. People knew that. So, go to a doctor that is fine with giving you proper medical care. Of course, like I said, if you don't want to give proper medical care, what the hell are you doing as a doctor? But that's a different story. In the end, Kavanaugh wrote, the anti-abortion doctors went to the wrong forum and should instead direct their energies to persuade lawmakers and regulators to make changes. Or, here's an idea, how about you just let scientists science? That works too. So yeah, in case you thought for a second that Kavanaugh was on the correct side, he's not. Remember, he's the one who sided with overturning Roe, so. Abortion rights advocates mainly breathed a sigh of relief after the decision, but they echoed Biden and the impact of the decision 2 years ago. And the fact that the only reason they said no was because they lacked standing. And at least Kavanaugh said that, yeah, this is an issue. We can't overrule the FDA, but Congress can. So that's a bittersweet moment as well. That's a double-edged sword. In the end, this ruling is not a win for abortion. It just means the status quo, which is a dire public health crisis in which 14 states have criminalized abortion. Nancy Northrop, president and CEO of the Center for Reproductive Rights, said in a statement. The Mifepristone case began 5 months after the Supreme Court overturned Roe. Abortion opponents initially won a sweeping ruling nearly a year ago from U.S. District Judge Matthew Kaczmarek. Suddenly I wasn't sure I read that correctly. A Trump nominee in Texas, of course, which would have revoked the drug's approval entirely. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals left intact the FDA's initial approval of Mifepristone, but it would reverse changes regulators made in 2016 and 2021 that eased some conditions for administering the drug. The Supreme Court put the appeals court's modified ruling on hold, then agreed to hear the case, though Justices Samuel Alito, the author of the decision overturning Roe, and Clarence Thomas would have allowed some restrictions to take effect while the case proceeded. But they, too, joined the court's opinion Thursday. And I'm sure it's just simply because of standing. If they had their druthers, they would have struck down Mifepristone. The push to restrict abortion pills likely won't stop with the Supreme Court's ruling, said the lawyer who represented anti-abortion doctors and their organizations in the case. The decision that the doctors don't have the legal right to sue leaves open the way for lawsuits from others, including 3 other states that Kaczmarek had previously allowed to join the case, said Aaron Hawley, an attorney for the group Alliance Defending Freedom. Exactly, because this is just about standing. They didn't actually rule on the case. Hawley said she expects Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri to continue the lawsuit originally filed in Texas. Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach, a Republican, asserted in a statement that the states have standing that the doctors did not, confirming that he will press ahead with the case in Kaczmarek's court. I'm sorry, how could the states have standing where the doctors don't? I mean, this is personal. Abortion is a personal decision. It should be an individual thing, not a... I mean, if the doctors don't have standing, how does the state have standing? I really don't understand, but I'm sure we'll find out eventually. So anyway, that's the good news, bad news coming out of the Supreme Court in regards to abortion, and at least Mifepristone. So, I believe that's all I have for this video, and with that, I will see you in the next one.